Welcome to A Moment of Xen. Time to sit back and relax as model, actress, mentor, and supermom Xen Sams takes you on a sexy and wild ride, covering the latest in film, fashion, pop culture, politics, and entertainment from the Millennial Moms perspective. Here's your host, Xen Sams.
Hello, my beautiful friends and loyal listeners. It's always such a pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you for listening and interacting with me on social media. That truly does make it all worthwhile. Please make sure to follow me at Xen Sams. That's Zen with an X, not a Z. And remember that we're now on TV. Tune in at watch.kpmedia.tv and catch A Moment of Xen on the Impact Live channel Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Now, all episodes are available on demand. We have such a great show lined up for you today in our influencer segment brought to you by Caldwell Soames. We are featuring Shannon Baker, a Canadian model, actress, and spokesperson, a proud Native American who went from a small reservation to big-time Hollywood. How did she do it? Well, she's here to let us in on her secrets in just a few. In our Crypto Frontier segment brought to you by CCP Digital in our bonus round, we are joined by Chris Pulley, returning contributor and CEO of CCP Digital, and NFT industry pioneer Joel Comm. And today we are chatting about Sylvester Stallone's Sly Guy NFT series and what that means for all you Stallone fans out there. In our Business and Buzz segment by Revere Securities, we have returning contributor, President of Revere Securities, Kyle Wool, with his investment tips despite rising inflation. How do you continue making money? In our Millennial Moms segment brought to us by Biche Cucina, we are chatting with Maria Pardalis, founder and CEO of Elle Media Lab. Today, we're chatting about female-operated media companies and if it's still a man's world in media and publishing. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with our influencer, actress, model, spokesperson, Shannon Baker. You're listening to A Moment of Xen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Xen is brought to you by Caldwell Soames Incorporated, investing globally in transformative businesses like Original Digital Corporation, or ODC. ODC develops advanced consumer and commercial fintech solutions such as OG Pay, which will transform the way you manage your money. From sending and receiving money globally for free, paying for goods and services in person and online, pay bills, buy and sell digital currencies, all while earning interest. OG Pay is easy to set up, FDIC insured, and your information is secured. Check out ogpay.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Xen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Xen Sams. Now, up in just a few minutes, we have our influencer segment brought to you by Caldwell Soames, and we are featuring Shannon Baker. She grew up on a small reservation in northern British Columbia called the Stellat'en First Nation. She is a Canadian model, actress, producer, and better known with her twin sister Shauna as the Baker twins. She's all about social activism, very vocal about stereotypes put on Native Americans and First Nations people, and often addresses the lack of representation therein. Now, as she gets settled into the broadcast room, let's chat about some very interesting facts. Now, the number of Indigenous people in the United States of America is estimated at between 2.5 and 6 million, of which around 20% live in American Indian areas or Alaska Native villages. Now, Indigenous peoples in the United States are more commonly referred to as Native groups. Now, it's definitely important to remember where you came from and to honor your heritage. Now, Shannon currently lives in West Hollywood, LA, and although she started her career as a model, she now wears many hats. She's an actress, a social media influencer, a gamer. Now, another interesting fact, we talk about gamers a lot on our show, gamers are not the minority as TV and film paint them out to be. 2021 figures are forecast to reach 2.81 billion gamers that will learn the global games market, an estimated $189.3 billion. And here to chat some more is Shannon Baker. Welcome to the show, Stunner.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So tell me, how do you go from a small reservation to big time Hollywood? Now I'm gonna give you the honor of pronouncing exactly the tribe you are part of.
Okay, so I'm Deketh Dene, and I'm from the Stellat'en First Nation in northern British Columbia.
So how do you go from that to Hollywood? Walk me through.
I don't know. I think I just knew that I wanted to get into the film and television industry, and the best place to do that was Los Angeles. So I just picked up and went.
Now, what does your family say about your career path? Are they supportive?
I think in the beginning they were kind of worried, just because everybody on my in my family still live on the res. So I think just going from a tribe of there's 400 band members where I'm from, 200 people that live on res. So a lot of my family live there. So I think they were just worried for me. But now they're pretty supportive. Know that I guess I have a career now. So I think they're just less worried now.
Oh, I would definitely not be worried about you. You have a great, great future ahead of you. You're bright, you're brilliant, you're clearly, very well driven and resilient. Now, even though more than 500 years have passed, the native people of the Americas are still often referred to as Indians, and many Native American tribes consider the eagle to be very sacred. Mohawk means man eaters, apparently, and totem poles are often depict animals that are special to the family. Talk to me about some of the things that make you proud and where you come from and why it is important to actually remember that heritage.
I would say, well, one, I would say, I think that depiction of totem poles and it's different for each tribe. So totem poles will mean different things for different people. And also we're not a monolithic people. Like in BC alone, there's over 400 different tribes, different languages, different cultures, different ways of practicing things, having different languages. I myself come from a matriarchal tribe, which means women rule. We actually decided whether or not we went to war. We made a lot of decisions. So I think I would say it's good to know where you come from.
Yes, it's extremely important. And, apparently I was reading some interesting facts that more than half of US states have names based on native languages, like Connecticut and Utah and Kentucky. Apparently this is all very, very symbolic. Talk to me about the biggest culture shock you had leaving the res and going into Hollywood and the entertainment industry, so to speak.
I think it's a big culture shock going from a res to any city. Los Angeles is huge. The population of Los Angeles is bigger than all of Canada. So for me, I think it was just all of the people. There's so many people. I grew up hunting and fishing, and I was raised traditionally by my grandmother, who's now 85. So for me, it was a culture shock just leaving.
Interesting. Very interesting. I mean, I'm so fascinated with your heritage because when you do the research, you see that there were many Native women that were warriors and fought alongside men in battles like the Battle of Little Bighorn and the Battle of the Rosebud. But seeing your generation come at the forefront of empowering the female kind is extremely important. And the fact that it's translating to the reservations says a lot about where you come from and the fact that you've been raised by a very resilient woman, hence your grandma. Now, let's segue a little bit. I want to kind of do like a 3 things we don't know about you and what you're currently working on. We have about 2 minutes left. So talk to me about 3 things we don't know about you and then tell me what projects you have lined up for yourself.
Okay, so the projects I'm not allowed to say because I signed some LOIs, but one of them is going to be, it's a television show on CBS. And I'm also currently in Vancouver right now filming a TV series. But all of the projects that I'm working on, I have LOIs on, so I can't actually say. 3 things that you don't know about me. I grew up on a res of less than 200 people. Was raised by my grandmother, which means Atsu in my language. And the 3rd thing is I don't like the taste of corn.
Oh, that's so interesting. Okay.
Corn.
Okay, we have about a minute and a half. We're going to do
Okay.
rapid fire. This is a rapid fire Q&A.
Okay.
You have to answer as just with the first thing that comes to your head, and it's just kind of like a get to know you. Okay, so
Okay.
meat lover or plant lover?
Meat lover or plant lover.
Dog person, cat person?
Dog person.
Your spirit animal?
I don't really. I think spirit animals are kind of offensive to Native people.
I didn't know that. Now
Yeah.
I know. Oh my goodness. See?
Yeah, because it's very specific to to one specific tribe that actually has spirit animals, and not every Native tribe
Okay.
has.
Your zodiac sign.
Pisces.
Favorite song.
My favorite songs are always changing, so I can't think of one right now. I can't rapid fire that.
Favorite color. Favorite color.
Turquoise.
Favorite genre of music.
Pop.
Okay, well, now listen, that was it. 30 seconds. We wrapped it up. We definitely have to check you out, Shannon Baker, on the ground. You were awesome. It was so much fun chatting with you. And thanks for giving me those tips. Didn't want to offend anyone.
And if I could plug in one thing, MMIW, missing murdered Indigenous women, is a huge issue in Canada and the United States. So just wanted to bring awareness to that.
Absolutely. We'll put that especially in the lower thirds of our show. You definitely have to check out Shannon Baker on the gram at Shannon Baker with 2 N's. That was our influencer segment. We'll be right back after this. That was A Moment of Zen on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Revere Securities. Revere is committed to building a relationship of trust in which they work closely with you to help you define your objectives, explore alternatives, and choose the financial and investment strategies that are most appropriate for you. Go to reveresecurities.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our Business and Buzz segment, we have a returning contributor, Kyle Wool, and I'm so pleased to announce that Kyle Wool has been promoted to the role of President of Revere Securities. Of course, Kyle is going to continue to guide the private wealth management initiatives with a focus on expanding the business across other areas of the firm. And as per Chairman Bill Moreno, Revere Securities is a leading emerging growth-focused broker-dealer serving many industries globally, thanks in large part to Kyle's leadership, energy, and tenacity. And today, Kyle and I are chatting about how to make great investments despite inflation in 2022. Now, for stock investors pondering how to ride out the worst bout of inflation in 4 decades, don't worry and stay the course is what some of the top wealth managers are saying. Prices that consumers pay for everyday items surged an insane 8.5% in March, the highest level since the early days of the Reagan administration. Inflation is a very tough predicament. It chips away at the real value of investor capital and investments. It could also make future company profits less valuable today and lead to higher interest rates. Now, many experts believe that investors would be better off continually investing over time rather than changing their strategy based on macro pictures. Now, strategists insist that you shouldn't try to time the market because of high inflation or yield curve inversion, as trying to time the market is usually a fool's errand, so to speak. In fact, higher than usual inflation doesn't have a material impact on equity returns. The median inflation adjusted return of US stocks over the 2 years following periods of high inflation was nearly identical to the 2-year return after periods of lower inflation, 18.5 versus 18.7 respectively. Still, soaring price pressures have become a top of mind concern for many notable investors on Wall Street. And here to chat some more and break it all down is President of Revere Securities, Mr. Kyle Wool. Welcome back, superstar.
Thank you, Zen. We're happy to be here.
So nice to have you back, Kyle. So the last time you were on was about a month ago, and a lot has happened. Revere has come a very long way, and you are now president, so congratulations.
Thank you.
So let's dive right into this. Investing is an effective way to fight back against inflation, and active investments can help offset inflation to preserve and grow wealth. Talk to me more about this notion and the driving factors behind you pulling the trigger on investments.
Yeah, I think inflation is definitely the topic that everyone's talking about right now. And history is no idea of future performance, but I do think we can learn a lot from our history. And if you look at the major inflationary times of the early 1980s and other periods that we had rampant inflation in the economy, I would agree with you. The average investor who most of the IRA or 401k, they should just invest for the long term, and they should not be trying to time the market. But at the same time, for people that are going to be pay attention to what's going on in the market, it's a time to maybe do some. You still want to stay invested in the market, but you may want to look at asset classes that have done very well in inflationary environments. For example, Real has done very well historically in an inflationary time. If you look at the mortgage rate, everyone's talking about the 10-year yield almost at 3%, and mortgages up to 5%. But compared to the inflation right now in the United States running at 8.5%, it's still doing quite better than the average inflationary pressures that are in the economy. There's other assets that traditionally have done quite well: real estate investment trusts, commodities, utilities, things of that nature will typically hold up a little bit better than they will than other assets will that are more focused on dividend growth and yield growth.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, look, if you actually think of it, for instance, right? This is a great example. From January 1926, Kyle, to the end of the year 2020, $1 would have needed to grow to $15 to keep up with inflation. So if you had invested $1 in long-term US Treasury bonds in 1926, it would have grown to $200. That's 13 times greater than inflation by the end of the year 2020. And further, if you had invested $1 in a broad basket of US stocks in 1926, it would have grown to approximate $10,000. That's 729 times greater than inflation over that same period. So what you're saying speaks into a bigger picture.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Revere Securities. Revere is committed to building a relationship of trust in which they work closely with you to help you define your objectives, explore alternatives, and choose the financial and investment strategies that are most appropriate for you. Go to reveresecurities.com.
All right, so this leads me directly into the second question. Now, a disciplined investor can plan for inflation by cultivating asset classes that outperform the market during inflationary climates. Now, although traditional bonds are the usual go-to for the income-oriented, they aren't the only investment that produces a revenue stream. Talk to me about your top asset classes to consider when seeking protection from inflation.
Okay, so you're exactly correct. When you think of fixed income and traditional bonds, you would want to avoid those during an interest rate environment where interest rates are rising like they are right now. However, there are certain fixed income investments that will do very well. Now, TIPS, TIPS, or Treasury Inflation Protected Securities, they are designed for this specific moment in history to perform quite well. So I would recommend those if that makes sense for your risk tolerance in your portfolio. Bonds, which used to be called junk bonds, they call high yield bonds now, also will perform quite well. And if someone is chasing yield, I would stay away from high dividend paying stocks because they will typically get hit just like traditional bonds will. But you might want to look into real estate investment trusts, which can pay 7, 8, 9%. You might want to look into a master limited partnership, which is a pipeline company, which can pay anywhere from 8 to 12%. And because those are based on commodities actually running through their pipelines, like liquid natural gas, those will also perform quite well. So, like I said earlier, in times like this, it's about readjusting your portfolio, not walking away from your portfolio.
Yeah, and it's interesting you said tips because that seems to be a really good blanket because, like you said, they're a type of US Treasury bond really designed to increase in value in order to keep pace with inflation. And I think really the bottom line is because they're backed by the US federal government, they're considered among really the safest investments essentially in the world. Leading me into something I've always wanted to kind of cover, but what about bank loans? I mean, some businesses can thrive during inflation, right? When prices are rising, and banks, for example, earn more money as interest rates rise and profit off the increased price of loans. So what about buying senior secured bank loans? What's your opinion on that?
Yes, for the right investor, that's a very good investment to be in right now. And again, the key word that you said is senior secured bank loans. There are a variety of different kind of bank loans out there. There's also funds that you can buy that focus on secured bank loans and also what we call floating rate securities. Now, what a floating rate security is, they're typically bond funds or ETFs that will do better as interest rates go up, and they readjust every 90 days. And those are typically made up of senior debt.
Interesting. When you say exchange traded funds, right, and mutual funds, really, those are two of the easiest options to diversify investments into international markets. Really, these types of funds are a low cost way to invest compared to purchasing a portfolio of ADRs or foreign stocks, so to speak. So yeah, it makes total sense.
Yeah, and Zen, I would say one thing too to all of our investors. When you're talking about fixed income, I would highly recommend looking at five-star mutual fund or an ETF that has very good ratings from Morningstar. And unless you're a highly sophisticated fixed income trader, I would recommend staying away from individual bonds.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And then when you talk about some of the asset classes to consider, right? When you talk about relocating money into stocks, with the notion that if inflation returns, it's generally a punch in the jaw for the bond market, but it could be a shot in the arm for the stock market. So, a lot of experts would say consider reallocating a percentage of your portfolio from bonds to equities in order to take advantage of this possible trend. What do you say to this?
Well, I think when it comes to equities, I do think equities will always outperform over the long term. But now is the time when you want to move away from your large cap dividend paying stocks. And if you look historically at periods like this, normally after you've had such a strong large cap performance over the last 3 to 5 years, and you have inflation going up, the sector of the market that will outperform over the next 3 years will be your small caps and your mid caps. Now, again, they're going to have more volatility, so you have to understand that. But most of the small cap companies, 90 to 95% of the revenues are derived internally within inside of the United States. So if you're worried about the US dollar versus other currencies, if you're worried about what's going on in Europe right now or what's going on in Asia, and you want an investment that probably will outperform the S&P 500 over the next 3 to 5 years, you may want to look at a small cap mutual fund manager, an ETF, which is based on the Russell 2000, which is the 2000 largest companies in the small cap index.
Yeah. Very good point. And there are several major economies in the world, like you just mentioned, that don't rise and fall in tandem with the US markets, with the US market, indices such as Italy, Australia, and South Korea kind of seem to be very much on their own. Now, we have about 4 minutes left, but I want to cover something that a lot of listeners are emailing me about. So about Bitcoin, of course. Now they're asking, is Bitcoin a strong hedge against inflation? So to kind of wheel it back a little bit, theoretically, Bitcoin could be a strong inflation hedge, right? Assets that investors run to in times of rising prices, so-called safe haven investments like precious metals and real estate, are ones that are scarce or move counter to paper money or financial assets. Bitcoin kind of fits the bill. But I know you're not a big fan. So what do you say to this?
And theoretically, gold, right? Now, gold you can trade in many different ways. You can buy a physical bullion, but then you're gonna have to pay to store it, which people don't normally explain to you. Or you can buy probably the most liquid gold ETF in the world, which is GLD, which is State Street Spiders. You can go out and buy gold miners. There's many different ways to buy gold. Now, Bitcoin theoretically should be a great hedge to the US dollar. Now, theoretically, because we've yet to determine how cryptos will be taxed. And until we really understand how cryptos are really going to be taxed and regulated by the SEC and FINRA and the Department of Justice, it's hard for me to say that Bitcoin's a great hedge to the US dollar.
True, very true. Because, and to your point, the problem is Bitcoin hasn't much of an investment history, right? It was created in 2009. It's only been actively traded for a decade or so, and inflation hasn't been much of a factor for most of its short life. So no one really knows how inflation is going to affect Bitcoin and its characteristically volatile behavior, and certainly its performance has been puzzling. Via the inflation of late, so to speak, because Bitcoin doubled from mid-December 2020 to early January 2021 as inflation started to heat up. But then, with no apparent sign of easing inflation pressures between January 8 and January 11, it lost like 30% of its value. So yeah, I mean, it's a toss-up.
It was specifically created for this moment, though. So if Bitcoin's ever going to truly perform, it should perform best now.
Yeah, that's very true. So listen, guys, tip from Kyle Wool, president at Revere Securities. He's definitely on front of the curve and on his A game when it comes to giving advice. But we're almost at the end of our segment, Kyle, and it was really such a pleasure to have you on.
Anytime, Zen. I'm always happy to talk, and I think one of the reasons I really enjoy coming on here. It's not obviously I enjoy talking to you, Zen, but to be able to give some advice to the average investor, the people that really aren't reading the Wall Street Journal every single day, the people that aren't just following the Quotron on CNBC or Fox Business, it's important for them to understand. Don't get nervous just because you heard the word inflation. Understand what it is. Understand you don't need to sell all your stocks and all your bonds, but maybe make some adjustments. Maybe move out of your 10-year treasuries into tips. Maybe get out of your large cap dividend paying stocks and move into something like a real estate investment trust or master limited partnership. You don't have to get out of the market, but it's important to know what's performed best in historical times during inflation.
You said it. Kyle, Love you so much. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Zen.
Guys, that was Kyle Wold. Check him out, President at Revere Securities. Go on their website, reveresecurities.com. And listen, the bottom line, inflation happens and is a risk every investor faces. Money tends to lose value over time, and also the level of inflation in an economy changes depending on current events. There are, however, many ways for investors to hedge against inflation, including some investments and inflation hedged asset classes designed specifically for that purpose, like Kyle walked us through. And keeping these assets on your watch list and acquiring them when inflation hits can definitely help your portfolio thrive despite this economic climate. Guys, that was our business and buzz segment brought to you by Revere Securities. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.
If you've missed out dining in New York City for the past year, it's time to visit the legendary Vice Cucina. Located in the heart of Midtown, Vice specializes in blending delicious Northern Italian and American cuisine with dishes such as the incredible taglione lobster, ravioli masala, ossobuco, and pappardelle al telefono, along with many other mouthwatering offerings. You deserve a great night out. Call Vice Cucina 212-757-2600 or online at vicecucina.com.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CCP Digital, bringing you a view from inside blockchain, cryptocurrency, and NFTs. Introducing the latest Blockchain Heroes series, Retro Rebellion NFT collectible card packs from the Nifty Company. Available January 2022. Find out more online at ccpdigital.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I am your host, Zen Sams. Now, coming up in our Crypto Frontier segment brought to you by CCP Digital, we are featuring NFT industry pioneer Joel Comm. Today, we're chatting about Sylvester Stallone's Sly Guy NFT series. Now, NFTs, or non-fungible tokens, are blockchain-based tokens that authenticate digital assets, making them perfect for artists, musicians, and even film stars to use to derive revenue from their very own creations. In other words, monetization. Now, as Joel gets settled into our broadcast room, let's chat why movie stars like Sylvester Stallone are now NFT enthusiasts. His latest venture is Sly Guys. It's an NFT collection made especially for his fans. Moreover, he is also launching his own metaverse called Planet Sly, actually, that he himself developed. Now, Planet Sly is something that not just Sylvester Stallone is jumping on the bandwagon. I love him for the famous Rocky and Rambo movies, but he's just one of an increasing number of Hollywood stars who are making a breakthrough into Web 3.0. And Stallone's Planet Sly commemorates his life and career. And at the same time, it creates a new and exciting way for his fans who aren't convinced about NFTs to actually invest in them. And here to chat some more is Joel Comm, the project's very own NFT strategy advisor. Now, Joel is a technologist and futurist of sorts, a New York Times bestselling author, a blockchain enthusiast, an avid gamer, and we are in for a real treat because it seems like he can actually talk more than me. He's a sought-after public speaker, co-hosting the Bad Crypto podcast, a top cryptocurrency show, making the future of digital chat easy to understand. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Hey Zen, thanks for having me. I don't know if I can talk more than you, but we can race and see what happens.
I love it. I love having you on. Okay, so let's jump right into it. Planet Sly is the home of approximately 10,000 Sly Guys NFTs, which more than, they have over 250 incredible attributes, right? I want to know more about what inspired, this. Was it his lifelong love of comic books and art? Talk to me about the special perks. And if the rumor is true, I read that to be eligible for an invitation-only pre-sale, that the NFT collectors and Stallone fans must show their Sly love, and they have to post and express on social media their level of fandom for him, and only those that receive an invitation to the pre-sale can participate. True?
So partly true. Yes. There's some people that aren't as comfortable on camera. And so there's a number of ways that you can show Sly love, whether it is making a video, where you're in Philadelphia or doing your best Rocky imitation or talking about, which of his films or characters inspired you, but you can also do a piece of fan art if you like to draw. Maybe you can just share a personal story with us on Twitter. The goal here is for Sly to connect with real fans. This is not a typical profile picture launch where we want people to just buy it so they can flip it. Sly wants to really connect with people. And if you watch his Instagram, you'll see how he shoots candid ad hoc videos almost daily that is him inspiring and engaging with his audience. And so this profile picture launch is so much more than the beautiful artwork that is created by Clark Mitchell, who is a Disney and Hasbro artist. You've seen his work before. You just might not known it because you bought a Star Wars Monopoly game or something, and you're like, that's Clark's work. It's top notch. Sly personally curated the collection, told us that, hey, I really want to have Butkus in there. I want to have the dog, and let's create some variables and attributes that are inspired by the life and films of this legendary actor who has now had a #1 box office film in each of the past 6 decades. That's amazing.
That is amazing. And, now you can translate this into a very viable digital ownership, so to speak. But the question is, are NFTs just another celebrity fueled trend? Really? Like, are celebrities jumping on the NFT stocks bandwagon big time because it's the momentum, or being part of the same movement as the stars for the fans might have an impact on some people's decisions to invest in NFT stock? But truly, is the celebrity profile raising NFT stock price, or are celebrities borrowing from the sector's momentum? What are your thoughts?
Well, we've seen some celebrities come in and not do it right. And I'm not going to name names, but there are some what we call cash grabs out there that they just see the opportunity, they just see the dollar signs, and they don't put a lot of thought, care, and love into the actual launch and to the deliverables. What will people get for owning one of these NFTs? We insisted on doing something completely different. And fortunately, it wasn't a hard sell to Sly because he wants to connect with his audience. So there's going to be a snapshot date on the blockchain a little bit after the sale. And anybody who has collected at least 3 Sly Guys in their wallet is going to get a ticket to a in real life private dinner in Miami where Sly is going to be there and he's going to speak and inspire. So there is a real world deliverable right off the top for those who collect. And then we have a whole line of other deliverables once we reach 100% sold out, which should be really quickly based on the growing size of the community in Discord. We're already over 20,000 people that are signed up, and there's only 9,997 Sly Guys available. But there is intent to deliver physical deliverables, digital deliverables, more experiences, more community oriented. In fact, once we hit 20,000 on the Discord, Sly promised that he would come in and do an AMA. And now that we've done that, we're getting ready to schedule that because he wants to answer questions from people to show he's really in this. And he's in it for the long haul. This is not just to jump on the bandwagon. So he's doing it right.
He's definitely doing it right now. You're painting a very nice picture because, it's arguable that although celebrity NFT activity might help bring NFTs to public awareness, stars are riding the wave, not driving it, because it is a very viable market. We have about 3 minutes left right here on this segment, but I wanted to segue into something a little bit more sophisticated because although there are no guarantees that a celebrity NFT is going to soar, the media shine does help encourage people to enter the market, and celebrities and athletes getting into crypto almost normalizes the NFT space. But investors looking for an alternative to a single NFT are turning to top NFT stocks that include NFT platforms, NFT creators, and NFT trading tools. And one option is an NFT ETF, right? Like Defiance's NFTZ, which that allows you to spread your investment across a number of promising NFT, blockchain, and cryptocurrency stocks with a single trade, right? Essentially helping mitigate exposure to risk while opening up access to this exciting and very fast moving sector. How do you feel about this in about 2 minutes? And is this only for the veteran investors?
I think portfolios of NFTs, especially the ones that are tending towards blue chip, there's only a a handful of them right now are a great way for people to get involved. If they don't have the time to do their own due diligence on individual projects, and you're putting your trust in the hands of those who have and know which projects to invest in, then I think it's a perfectly fine move. But if you have the time to go down the rabbit hole yourself and understand that this is so much more than pictures of apes or, CryptoPunk pixels. These are the future of loyalty. These are the future of community, and NFTs are just getting started. We're in the early adopter phase still. Mainstream is still a few years away, and the explosion is yet to happen.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Either way, any way you chop it up, NFT sales are showing really no signs of failing. Even if you look at the timeline, back in August, we saw sales reaching new heights with about 5.6 million registered sales, driving 5.2 billion in trading volume. And by September, there were over 116,000 active unique trading wallets, and NFTs trading volume grew to about 11 billion by the third quarter of 2021, which was a jump of 704%, Joel, from the previous quarter, and representing close to 38,000% year-on-year growth. So this is a very, very telling market, and these are very, very telling statistics. So I definitely encourage everyone. I mean, this is a great project, but thank you for coming on and chatting with us.
Thanks so much. PlanetSly.com.
Definitely. We're going to send our audience directly to the website, planetsly.com. You can also check out Joel at badcryptopodcast.com. And remember, this is brought to us by CCP Digital, ccp.digital. You're listening to our Crypto Frontier segment brought to us by CCP Digital right here on A Moment of Zen on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CCP Digital, bringing you a view from inside blockchain, cryptocurrency, and NFTs. Introducing the latest Blockchain Heroes series, Retro Rebellion NFT collectible card packs from the Nifty Company. Available January 2022. Find out more online at ccpdigital.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. This is our Crypto Frontier segment, and we are talking with crypto influencer Joel Comm. Now, Joel, metaverse concerts have also become a virtual reality, with avatars of musicians like Ariana Grande, The Weeknd, and ABBA taking the virtual stage. And tickets to these concerts are themselves NFTs. Can we expect these digital assets to become hot collectibles in their own right?
Absolutely. This is just the beginning of virtual concerts such as this, where people can actually roam around and network in the virtual space. Some of the more pioneering musicians and artists are starting to play in that arena. And what's really interesting about this is when you buy a ticket for a traditional concert, you go in, they scan it. They used to rip it in half and you'd get to keep the stub as a collectible. These days, you don't even have that. These NFTs act as a collectible, memorabilia from the show, and the artists know exactly who owns it. So if they want to deliver additional value to those consumers that own an NFT from a specific show in a metaverse, they can do that. I mean, think about that. Email is not highly deliverable. On social media, you don't reach all your fans, but you know 100% who has an NFT representing attendance to a concert. That's a powerful connection for artists to be able to reach out to fans.
Yeah, that's well said, because now you're actually extremely involved directly. And of course, these NFTs also evoke a lot of emotion. And when you look at it from the bird's eye view in the entertainment world, NFTs really do give creators new ways to interact with their audiences, to raise money, create new distribution windows, and turn all of it into a proof of concept to sell their movies and TV shows. And it's truly the transition to what you've been saying, and I've been listening to a lot of your public speaking, but it's truly the transition from Web 2.0 to Web 3, and the NFT is the gateway to Web 3. I learned that from you. It puts ownership directly in the hands of users, whereas in the past, right, monetization was completely in the hands of the platforms like Facebook and Google. So it's truly the future of the internet. So people should definitely get on board. But tell us, what are your closing thoughts with the entire Sylvester Stallone's project? Like, if you could give advice to NFT collectors out there, coming from the world that you do and knowing what you know and the people that are behind this project, what do you want to recommend?
Well, I want to tell people to go to planetsly.com and join our community on our Discord, and you're going to discover how to do an NFT profile picture correctly, a launch correctly, that is truly engaging with the community, that brings value to the community, and that intends to continue bringing value. NFTs are not just a one and done. I'm not saying they can't be, but in this case, we want to bring value to the owners and continue doing so. And there's going to be all kinds of surprises for owners of these. The Sly list, you can go get on it now, and the launch is going to be in May, either the mid to late is going to be the date for it. Right now, we're just working out the details with our technology partners.
Beautiful. Guys, definitely check it out. planetslide.com. Joel, thank you so much for enlightening us with so much information, as always.
Thanks, son.
You got it. You're listening to A Moment of Zen. That was our Crypto Frontier segment by CCP Digital. Definitely check out planetslide.com, and definitely check out Joel on badcryptopodcast.com. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.
If you've missed out dining in New York City for the past year, it's time to visit the legendary Vice Cucina. Located in the heart of Midtown, Vice specializes in blending delicious Northern Italian and American cuisine with dishes such as the incredible taglione lobster, ravioli masala, ossobuco, and pappardelle al telefono, along with many other mouthwatering offerings. You deserve a great night out. Call Vice Cucina 212-757-2600 or online at vicecucina.com.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I am your host, Zen Sams. Today, in our Millennial Moms segment brought to us by Vice Cucina, we are featuring Maria Pardalis, founder and CEO of Elle Media Lab, a full-service media, branding, and events agency powered by women. That's right. She also serves as director of media at PN Lawyers. Maria's past work experience includes positions at ABC News, NBC Universal, Goldman Sachs, and the Greek TV network Mega TV, to name a few. Today, we are chatting about female-operated media companies and if it's still a man's world in media and in publishing. Now, as she gets settled into the broadcast room, let's chat. In the early days of the American Republic, and even before the Revolution, women often played a role in their families' publishing endeavors, whether it was newspaper, magazine, or pamphlet publishing. They participated in all facets of the business. However, were not recognized or legally allowed to become publishing or media professionals until the late 19th century. In fact, the women who were leaders in these family businesses printed and published under a male relative's name. One rare example of one trailblazer who did not hide behind a pseudonym was Mary Catherine Goddard, the second printer to print the Declaration of Independence. Her name appears right under John Hancock as the printer of the document. Now, despite these hurdles, today, women make up the majority of those employed in media and publishing, but still earn less than their male counterparts. The 20th century saw the transition from women in clerical positions into professional roles, and yet not was all equal. Many women faced wage and other forms of discrimination, and it wasn't until the women's rights and feminist movements of the 1970s where women publishers organized to fight for more rights and equality in the workplace. And here today to give us her perspective is Maria Pardalis. Welcome to the show, beautiful girl.
Hi, Zen. Thank you so much for having me. This is going to be so fun. I'm also having a major moment of deja vu because if you remember, we met in 2009 when I interviewed you for Neo magazine. And now the tables have turned. 13 years later, you're interviewing me.
I know. I love it. It comes full circle, women helping women.
Truly,
I love where
truly,
you are.
always.
Your career is pretty incredible. I mean, prior to these positions, you were the founder and CEO of a networking startup that I recall called Eventsi that quickly grew to over 30,000 members within the New York City area. You earned a BA in mass communications and double majored in media production and broadcast journalism. So this is very much your world. Talk to me about some of the inequalities you have faced as a woman in media or as an all-female operated media lab.
Yeah, I mean, the inequalities were certainly faced from the onset. I'm a daughter of immigrants, right? So I'm first generation here, first to go to college and graduate, and first to embark on this career. So it's a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication. Unfortunately, the industry doesn't really fuel women to actually follow their paths to the extent. It's like, great, you want to come to the lands of media, you can, but you can start and you can be my assistant. You can do this. When my male counterparts, it's like, here, come spend a day with me. See what it's like being a producer. I had to fight to get that kind of exposure. And it shouldn't be that way because, it should not, it should be based on the person's credentials and how hard they're working, not if they're male or female.
Exactly. And despite the fact that women in PR make up 66% of the workforce, according to the PR and communications census that was published about 2 years ago, that figure isn't reflected at a leadership level, to your point, with the majority of leadership roles still filled by men. In fact, only 39% of leadership roles in the PR and media industry are filled by women. So one would ask, what's going on here? What's stopping women in public relations getting into leadership roles? Why are they being sidelined during the leadership process? And it's clear as day that we still have a lot of work to do and pave the way here. But talk to me about what you're doing differently with Elle Media Lab.
Right. And just to backstep a second to talk about what you just spoke about, the Civil Rights Act passed nearly 50 years ago, and we're still fighting the same fight that we fought in 1964, right? As women. And that's what actually caused me to, and for many reasons, not just for seniority in the workplace or workplace equality, it's also work-life balance. As women, some of us choose to become mothers, and there's a huge imbalance. The tables definitely don't align. Nothing aligns at that point. And having worked for all these different networks and big corporate Fortune 500 companies, I found that when I became a mother, they weren't very forgiving or easy to work with. The hours were very draconian, and so was the work ethic. So I decided to be my own boss, be an entrepreneur, start a workplace, a company that would work with everyone based on what their needs are. And it's okay if someone works, for example, 3 to 4 days a week. It doesn't have to be a 5-day-a-week job in order to work, or in order to say you are a professional, in order to succeed. And that's why I created Elle. It gives all women the ability and the opportunity to work when they can. If you at this stage of your life have 20 hours to give me, but your skill set is impeccable, I will take those 20 hours and I will put them to work, And as a mom, and I have 3 little kids and a husband that has his own career, and he's an entrepreneur too, something had to give. And at the end of the day, it was my children or my career. So I had to create this balance. And Elle Media brought this balance where it empowers women in media to continue to do what they love, what they're good at, but also not take away from other parts of their life.
It's very beautifully said, because as a millennial career mom, you do have to balance out 3 active little kiddos, a high profile attorney husband who is really, at the forefront of everything happening in New York City, your Bergen County community, and your Elle Media Lab. And so balancing it all out, how do you do it without feeling guilty, so to speak?
Oh, that mom guilt. Zen, it. It's hard. The struggle is real. If you put too much time into work, then you're taking away from your kids. If you put too much time towards your personal life, you're not performing, your clients are unhappy. I wake up very early to keep the balance. I wake up very early. I work out. I get that part of my personal part of my days from the onset. I fulfill that. The mom hat goes on. I get everybody to school. And then, silver linings of COVID. I used to work in Manhattan every single day. And then it went from every single day to 2 to 3 days a week. And now I can work from home without having to go in and still perform as I was. So on those days, I'm here. I work from home and I have a whole team, and we do everything as if we were in the office. If not, we're more efficient because there's no commuting.
Yeah. So talk to me about the celebrity projects that you are working on, because it sounds like you're balancing a lot. Yeah, I know that just last week you had something amazing in the city for King Otto, but talk to me. We have about 2 minutes left in the segment about some of the projects that you're really proud of right now.
So as I mentioned, Elle Media, we're powered by women. And so we support a lot of women-led projects and foundations and conferences. Client-wise, we do have the filmmaker that did put together the red carpet premiere that you came to, Zen, has few other films that will be debuting soon. They are confidential in their nature, so we'll have a part 2 conversation about that. So we are working on that. There's a really amazing nonprofit dance company that we were just hired to do their work for. And we have everyone, our clients range. We have a mentalist and magician that went to school with David Blaine. He's phenomenal, to a big financial group.
I love it.
So
I love the
yeah,
fact that you are covering it all from a women-powered agency and really kind of paving the way there. Because at the end of the day, when you look at, where women are in, I want to say, public relation, and it's really the perfect marriage. Because I say this because we all know some guys who are like this too. Women have a very multifaceted skill set, and we can multitask. We're active
yes,
listeners. We're more in tune with our clients' needs, more empathetic, more able to understand the
yeah.
challenges faced by our clients. So I do love the female touch. And thank you for coming on and talking with us. It was a pleasure having you on. You are an example to all women out there,
Thank you, Jen.
especially Greek women. And I definitely
Yes,
thank
yes.
you for coming on and chatting with me today.
Thank you, Zen. And you're one of our biggest supporters and inspirations too. So we're so happy to call you part of, the Elle Media work family.
It's truly an honor. Guys, you definitely have to check out Maria Pardalis. Check her out on the gram at Elle Media Lab, or head to their website at ellemedialab.com. And she's also on there at Maria_Pardalis. That was our Millennial Mom segment, brought to us by BJ Cucina. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Tempus, the next generation of the engagement economy, allowing people to make money on their data and earn cryptocurrency for the time they spend on things they already currently love to do. With Tempus, brands will have the ability to pay you directly for interacting with apps, watching videos, playing games, and more. Tempus, the time is now. Engage and earn. A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Hi There, a creative community exploring the culture, craft, and science of cannabis. Hi There believes that we have a collective responsibility towards eradicating the stigma, misinformation, and inequities surrounding this plant so we can unlock its true potential for all. To become involved and find out what all the excitement is about, download the Hi There app from the App Store and Google Play. Hi There, HIGHTHERE.
We're at the end of our date, my dear friends. Remember to join me right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. or go to 710WOR.iheart.com/A Moment of Zen. Remember, we're now on TV. Download the KP Media TV app on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, or Android TV, or tune in at watch.kpmedia.tv and catch A Moment of Zen on the Impact Live channel Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern. All episodes of A Moment of Zen are now available on demand. Thank you for listening. It has been an absolute pleasure being your host. Thanks again to all of our sponsors. And remember, happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it.